7.3 AS circulatory system of a mammal. Why do mammals need circulatory systems? Well, they're big organisms, which means that they have a small surface area to volume ratio. They can't just absorb all the substances that they need, and so we need to take it in one place and transfer it to another. Also, if an organism is particularly active, they have higher respiratory demand. They have a higher demand for oxygen and glucose, so we need to get those substances to the site of respiration really quickly. Let's have a look at some of the features of a transport system. So the first thing is we need a suitable medium. So when we're transferring our glucose, when we're transferring our oxygen, we need a medium to move it in. Then we need a mechanism to move that transport medium. And of course, in our case, that's a heart. We also have our muscular contractions. As we walk and our muscles contract, they squeeze blood vessels, and that also helps to move our transport medium, blood, from one place to another. So the third idea is that we need a form of mass transport to move the transport medium. Now that is created by pressure differences, and we come back to this a lot in a couple of lessons time. What is it that moves blood from the atrium into the ventricle? It's the change in pressure. As the muscle contracts, it increases the pressure and the blood is squeezed to an area of low pressure. That's how it moves from the ventricles into the blood vessels also. We also need a closed branching system to help distribute and transport the transport medium to all parts of the body so that it lies in as close proximity to cells as possible. Okay, so here is a schematic diagram of the heart and all the different blood vessels. Basically, you don't need to know this. All you need to know is the 4 chambers of the heart and the major blood vessels, so the aorta that comes out of the heart and the vena cava that takes it back. Plus, of course, the names of the pulmonary vein and artery, which associate with the lung. The heart is referred to as a double circulatory system. What does that actually mean? It means that for every time the blood transfers around the body, it goes through the heart twice. So let's have a little look at that. We're going to start in the lungs, where we've got oxygenated blood. It goes to the heart, it comes out of the heart, and it goes round the body once. We've already been through the heart once. It goes back to the heart, and then it goes back to the lungs. Well, we've been through the body once, and we've been through the heart twice. So it's called a double circulation. The circulation that takes you through the body is called the systemic circulation, and the circulation that takes you back through the lungs is called the pulmonary circulation. So it's like a figure of 8. Why do we have a double circulation? Well, let's think about it. We've got oxygenated blood coming from the lungs to the heart. It's at low pressure. Think about all those millions of capillaries that we've got in the lungs. It's got a huge amount of surface area. It's got a huge amount of drag, which slows down the blood. So from the lungs, it goes to the heart. The heart gives it a really good pump, increases the pressure, and out it comes. It travels all around the body and it drops off oxygen, picks up carbon dioxide, drops off glucose, picks up waste, and it wants to go back to the lungs to get rid of that carbon dioxide. But the pressure is so low. It's been through the capillary bed. Again, each surface area of one capillary is very, very small, but collectively it's huge. And as the blood enters the vein to come back to the heart, it's actually at negative pressure. It's also, in humans, going against gravity. So it's never going to make its way through the lungs. It needs an extra pump, it needs an extra bit of pressure to get back to the lungs. We've got our pulmonary artery, because it comes out of the heart, going to the lungs, and we've got our pulmonary vein as it comes from the lungs to the heart. We can see straight away that the artery here has a much thicker elastic wall compared to the vein, and it's got a smaller lumen. It's not as clear on here, but it's got a smaller lumen. It feeds into the capillaries. This is where the pressure massively reduces, and then it goes into the veins. The veins have a much bigger lumen. They also have valves to prevent the backflow of blood. And here is a summary of those differences between an artery and a vein. So you will see we have got an elastic muscular wall here. And the reason why it's elastic is so that it can recoil after the pressure of a heartbeat. And the reason why it's muscular is so that it can withstand the pressure of the blood within the vessel itself. It has a relatively small lumen because, again, that helps to maintain the pressure inside that artery. The capillaries are the complete opposite. They have no muscle, no elastic tissue. They have a teeny tiny lumen and they have blood under really, really low pressure. When we're looking at the veins, we can see that they have a thin muscular wall because there's not a lot of pressure in there. They just need to be able to hold the blood vessel, the integrity of the blood vessel together. They have very little elastic tissue because they don't need to recoil, because we don't see those huge pressure surges within the blood vessel. They have semi-lunar valves. They exist as two parts and they open and close. And they prevent the backflow of blood because with every pump of blood, the blood moves along, but then in between pumps it wants to fall back, and the valves prevent that backflow of blood. So the fact that these capillaries are so tiny, between 7 and 10 micrometers across, means that they permeate into each tissue of the body. And most cells are within a millimeter of one of these capillaries, which makes a short diffusion pathway to meet the demands of respiring cells. Of course, we need to make note of the fact that arteries don't just branch straight into capillaries. The pressure would be far too high. We get these smaller blood vessels which then branch again into capillary beds.